Kenya is now a thriving country with rich farmland in sub-Saharan Africa. With a population of 42.7 million, it is the seventh most populated country in Africa. Although Kenya faces high rates of unemployment and poverty, the population has boomed in the last 50 years and urbanization has increased as well. The goal of the OAU was different for every country that attended. Most nations wanted freedom of African countries from European powers. In addition, democracy and strong economies were sought out. The purpose of the organization was to unify the nations of Africa, but some views were more extreme than others, which ultimately drove to a divide between the African nations. For example, some members of the conference called for a United States of Africa, whereas other countries, such as Kenya, believed in unity without such an extreme, all-powerful body. After realizing the different views and goals of African nations in the conference, the delegates of the organization realized that total unification of Africa would not be possible, at least at first. The goals of the organization as a whole were to remove all colonial forces out of the continent, defend their rights, improve quality of life, promote international cooperation, and of course, achieve some degree of unity. Jomo Kenyatta became the first president of Kenya when it received its independence in 1963, and he was also a founding member of the OAU. Kenya became a one-party system, and Kenyatta advocated a strong central government. Kenyatta appointed many different ethnic groups to political positions, encouraged a free market economy, and kept friendly relationships with Western nations. Kenyatta had been promoting nationalism and a strong sense of identity with the Kikuyu ethnic group, which had previously been recognized in the 1930s. When Kenyatta came to power, Kenyans hoped that the absence of colonialism would result in increased literacy rates, equal land redistribution, and integration of all Kenyan ethnic groups. However, quite the opposite occurred. Kenyatta pushed for a platform in which ethnic patronage was used to distribute resources, evident in the fact that he favored the Kikuyus at the expense of other ethnic groups, as he appointed them to hold key government positions. Tension between the supporters of Kenyatta and his opposers were exacerbated around 1963 because of Kenyatta's social, political, and economic agendas. Due to the independence agreement with Britain, no free land was distributed as it had previously been hoped for. Under Kenyatta, it remained difficult to obtain land for low prices, and many Kenyans became upset by this fact. Kenyans began to ask for more land for which they did not have to pay an extremely high price, but the distribution of land laid in the hands of Kenyatta himself, which undermined the customary tenure systems that the people had hoped for. Kenya's political agenda directly preceding independence shifted its focus from a federal system of government to a more unitary system of government, as seen in its one-party system established by the Kenya African National Union. Kenya favored centralized power that revolved less around party organs and more around the bureaucratic machines. For this reason, Kenya had, and continues to have, a stable and successful government. Kenya's economic policies following independence focused on rapid economic growth so as to restore what had been lost during British occupation. Kenyatta encouraged smallholder agricultural production and promoted foreign industrial investment to speed up economic prosperity and increase GDP. In addition, Kenya opened new land up to cultivation, so agricultural production following independence boomed as Kenya established its position as a global economic competitor. Kenyatta also fostered positive relationships with the former colonists in European countries, while other Kenyans did not believe that this was the wisest decision. An OAU membership will serve Kenya well because it will be able to unite Kenya and other African nations and allow them to work together for the common purpose of unity. Hopefully, Kenyatta and his opposers will be able to reach a compromise despite their ideological differences. Both Kenya and his opposers, however, want to work toward an end goal of social order, rapid economic development, and political success for the nation. Additionally, membership in the OAU would help Kenya because its goal regarding international policies and economic systems would match those of the organization. Kenya believes in a free market economy, which relies on individuals to make decisions for the economy. Since the OAU supports democracy and freedom for individuals, including an increase in quality of life, free market economies demonstrate similar ideals. In addition, Kenya had positive relationships with Western countries and other important trading partners. They voted to throw out their colonial oppressors just as the OAU wanted, but still desired to maintain beneficial relationships with other countries. Unlike many other African nations, Kenya was typically friendly with Western nations and was one of the more pro-British nations at the time. All of these views align with those of the OAU, which is why it would be beneficial for Kenya to join the OAU. Finally, the OAU would benefit from Kenya joining because they stand for many of the same views. Kenya believes in unifying Africa, although not to the extent of a single African nation. They also believe in democracy and more free economic systems. Although some countries of Africa at the time had socialist views, Kenya believed in individual freedoms as the OAU did. Kenya also promotes positive trade relations, which the OAU wants, along with international recognition and respect. Overall, Kenya is an exemplar of OAU values and would be a powerful addition to the organization.